Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something pretty fascinating, Christmas in Panama. Because how this one holiday is celebrated tells you so much about the country's incredible layered history. Let's get right into it.
So let me ask you a question. When I say the word Christmas, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Maybe you're picturing snow or thinking about certain songs or the specific foods that are on the table every single year. We all have that image, right? But what if, for a whole country, it wasn't just one picture, but more like a whole photo album?
See, in Panama, there isn't just one single way to do Christmas. The holiday isn't this uniform, cookie-cutter thing. Instead, it's this amazing collection of different celebrations all happening at the same time, and each one tells a totally different story about where the nation came from.
So, to really get it, we're going to peel back the layers one by one. First, we'll look at the shared framework that kind of holds it all together. Then we'll dig into those deep Spanish Catholic roots, feel the vibrant rhythms from both Africa and the Caribbean, and then we'll see the quiet continuity of the indigenous communities. And finally, we'll see what it all looks like when you put it all together at this incredible crossroads.
Okay, let's start with what everyone has in common. Because despite all the diversity we're about to explore, there is a shared calendar, a kind of basic structure that most Panamanians recognize. And that provides the foundation for everything else.
The main event for pretty much everyone is December 24th, Noche Buena, Christmas Eve. That's the big family celebration. Now, for observant Catholics, there's the Misa de Gallo, or Rooster's Mass, right at midnight. But here's the thing. Across every single culture, every community, the core elements are universal. It's about family, it's about music, and it is definitely about amazing food. So you could say the Christian calendar sets the date, but it's the culture that really determines the flavor. And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of it. We're not trying to find one single official Panamanian Christmas. That's not the point. The real story is in these parallel traditions that just exist side by side. They don't all melt into one big thing. They keep their own distinct identities, all while sharing the same holiday season. All right, let's peel back that first really foundational layer of this whole cultural tapestry, the influence from Spain during the colonial era. This is what provides the religious framework for the entire holiday. This is really the backbone of the holiday's formal structure. So we're talking about things like Catholic masses and novenas, which are these 9-day series of prayers. You see these beautiful, incredibly elaborate nativity scenes called nacimientos in people's homes and in public squares. A lot of the core rituals, like the big processions, are all centered around the church. This is the bedrock, the foundation for all the other traditions we're going to talk about. And if you want to see this in action, really see it, you could go to a place like the Azuero Peninsula. In this more rural part of Panama, the Christmas celebrations have this strong traditional feel that seems almost frozen in time, really deeply connected to a kind of Spanish folk Catholicism that's all about community and the local church. Okay, so stick with me, because now we're going to add another powerful layer, and this one's pretty complex. When we talk about African influence in Panama, we're actually talking about two totally distinct groups with very different histories, and each one brings its own unique rhythm to the Christmas season. And this chart just lays it out so perfectly. On one side, you have Afro-Panamanians. They're descended from enslaved Africans during the Spanish colonial era. Their traditions, often Spanish-speaking, with big public street festivities, lots of drumming, and call-and-response singing. But on the other side, you have Afro-Caribbeans. Their ancestors came much, much later from islands like Jamaica and Barbados to help build the canal. Their traditions are often in English or Creole, and they feature things like brass bands, formal choirs, and more gatherings centered around the home. It's two histories creating two very different sounds for the exact same holiday.
And of course, you can literally taste this difference too. The Afro-Caribbean Christmas brings these iconic flavors, like the rich, dense black cake, all sorts of dishes made with coconut milk, and signature drinks like sorrel and a spicy ginger beer. And hey, if you hear English language carols being sung, you're probably hearing the legacy of that canal-era migration.
All right, let's shift gears now to our next layer, and this is a really important one. We're talking about the original inhabitants of this land. For Panama's indigenous communities, like the Guna and Ngebe Bugale, the story isn't really about adopting some foreign holiday. It's more about how that holiday interacts with their own ancient traditions and beliefs. So to really get this, we have to understand a key concept. The word is syncretism. And it's not about one belief system conquering another one. It's about them merging, or maybe more accurately, coexisting. So a community might go to a church service, but that doesn't mean they've abandoned their traditional spiritual calendar. The two just live side by side. So what does that actually feel like?
Well, in many indigenous regions, it means the holiday season is observed in a totally different way. It's much quieter, it's deeply, deeply centered on family and community. The focus just shifts away from all the spectacle and commercialism, and instead it's all about community identity and the natural rhythms of the seasons.
Okay, so we've got the Spanish foundation, the dual African and Caribbean rhythms, and the indigenous continuity. Phew. So what happens when you put it all together? What does Christmas actually look and feel and sound like at this incredible cultural crossroads?
Honestly, there is no better place to see this in action than on a dinner plate. Just look at this. The food on your plate can literally tell you the story of your ancestry. That Spanish influence, it brings tamales and roasted pork. The Afro-Caribbean table, it's got that black cake and spiced meats. And the indigenous traditions feature corn-based foods and whatever is fresh and local. It's one holiday with so many different delicious tables.
And it's not just what you taste, you can literally hear it too. If you walk through different neighborhoods during Christmas, it can feel like you're changing the radio station every few blocks. You'll hear the traditional Spanish villancicos with guitars. Then you'll hear the joyful sound of Afro-Caribbean calypso carols with brass bands. And in other areas, you'll hear the powerful public drumming of those colonial-era Afro-Panamanian traditions. It's like a national symphony with a bunch of different movements.
And this, right here, is the main takeaway. This is the whole point. These traditions don't just melt together into some single, uniform celebration. They stand right alongside each other, totally distinct and vibrant. And that's what makes Christmas in Panama so special. It's like a living, breathing museum of the country's entire history, all on display for one magical season.
So I want to leave you with this question. Panama's Christmas reveals its deep history as a global crossroads. What about your own holiday traditions? What layers of history, of migration, of culture do they reveal about where you and your family come from? Something to think about. Thanks for watching.